Welcome to the Soul Archaeology podcast, a space for connection, resonance, witnessing, and learning. Together we'll harvest medicine from the spiral of life, sharing conversations with other embodied humans who have navigated their own initiations and found alignment with their true soul essence. With weekly astrology, energy updates, embodied conversation, and channeled teachings, this is a space for you to land and find resonance with the spiral of your own soul. Hello there. Welcome back. I'm happy to be back with you all. How are you feeling after this major T-square pressure cooker? We have been in such a deep portal, an initiatory portal through August. And as we near the end of August, the intensity of the energy starts to shift. And we might start getting more clarity around where we are headed into the last quarter of 2024. I left Greece and am now in France and have been doing some really powerful inner work and work with these retrogrades and the T-squares within my own personal life, and really getting into the deep core layers around the cycles that I'm closing out and the patterns that are surfacing and what I'm really working on reviewing and clearing, and what's needed for this next chapter, where I'm headed, and the tools and the backpack that I'll be carrying into the next chapter, what needs to be left here and what wants to be brought forward. Travel is always so helpful in really getting clarity, shifting perspective. I'm also a Sagittarius moon, so this energy it's really helpful for me to gain some clarity. There's this major T-square that's been happening in the mutable signs, as you know. So for those of you who have significant mutable sign placements and significant fixed sign placements, this energy's been really activating you from different angles. And I personally have a Sagittarius moon. I have a Venus in Virgo. I have a Jupiter in Gemini. So this has been a pretty powerful initiatory experience for me to sit with and be with the discomfort of these squares. And as we know, squares are trying to shift something. Their intention is to create pressure so that we can achieve a new or different outcome, so that we can access a new layer of understanding or healing to shift something within our lives, within our psyche, within our bodies. So many different aspects of our charts are being activated right now. So many different aspects of our lives are being activated, which you, I'm sure, feel with the intensity of what's building and brewing and moving throughout your life. There's so much interaction between the outer planets, a lot of interaction between the inner planets. We have Mercury retrograde happening still. So there's so much that's continuing through this week to help reveal what's no longer working within our lives, to reveal the sticky places, the places where we're getting stuck or that feel perhaps gritty or challenging. Things we haven't witnessed before, or what we need to witness from a different perspective or a different angle. And mutable signs are the middle. So what's tricky about this energy is that we might not know where we're headed or what we're learning or what next steps want to be taken. But we can feel that change is coming. We can feel that things are changing and shifting within us already, even if we don't have the mental clarity around what it exactly looks like. And that is the power of now, is being comfortable with the unknown, deepening further into faith, deepening further into belief that we are being led where we need to go, even if it might not be, even if the path might not be crystal clear quite yet. So, as we navigate this last week of Mercury retrograde, as we begin to deepen more into Virgo season, as we near Pluto's re entry into Capricorn on September 1st, we're in this middle space still. There might be so much that's being revealed and realized. This heavy retrograde energy really churns the bottom layers. So it starts to till the soil in a deeper way. It can perhaps reveal things, but you might not know what to do with the information yet. And that's completely fine. One of the main shifts we're experiencing, of course, is the sun, which entered Virgo last week. So we now have the sun and Venus in Virgo. Venus is, of course, a mutable earth sign. So its job is to help us find stability within change, within the unknown, within the liminal space, doing whatever we need to find more clarity, more safety, more fortification within our own space so that we can navigate the middle space more comfortably. And Virgo is the Virgin. It's sovereignty, clarity, focus, practicality. It's sobering. It brings us back to reality and asks for us to care for ourselves, specifically our physical vessel, in a deeper, more sacred way. Virgo is health, healing, fertility, purity. It's really about refinement, in particular, self-refinement. When I think of Virgo, I think of distillation, the process of boiling something down to its most pure form, to release excess, to cleanse, to distill to find truth, purity, simplicity, clarity. She cuts through like a diamond. She teaches us not to transcend the physical form, but rather tend to it, to deepen into it, to honor our sacred vessel, our physical body as a sacred vessel, to see it as a channel, as a tool, as a home. And she teaches us that when we tend to the physical, when we tend to this sacred vessel, we drop into a space of knowing, into a space of trust, into a space of safety. So there's certainly this focus on tending to what's in front of us, tending to our lives, tending to our habits, our patterns, our routines, what we're eating, what we're consuming, physically, mentally, emotionally. Looking at our food, looking at our diet, looking at our consumption of media, our consumption of information, our relationships, who we're surrounding ourselves with. With both the sun and Venus in Virgo, we're seeking peace. We're seeking discernment and clarity. With the heavy Gemini energy we have been in with Jupiter and Mars conjunction, and then the squaring that they've been applying to both Saturn and Venus, it can certainly lead to overwhelm, overstimulation, overthinking. And now with the sun entering Virgo, it will give us some support to anchor some of this mental noise into the physical, to find the spaces within us where we can control how we experience this energy. How can we create safety within our own systems, within our own nervous system, within our own body? How we can transcend duality and find a space of clarity, focus, drishti within ourselves. It has been such a noisy time with the mutable T-square, with the intensity of Jupiter and Saturn still continuing their squaring together, both Gemini, which is the sign that Jupiter's in, and Pisces, which is where Saturn is, and deal with duality. And this Jupiter and Saturn square, which I talk a lot about in the last 2 episodes, so I would encourage you to go back and listen to those. But both of these planets squaring each other is certainly creating a lot of noise. It's creating a lot of intensity. Like I said, both of these signs, Jupiter and Pisces, deal with duality. Gemini deals with the higher mind and the lower mind, the right and left hemispheres of the brain. Pisces deals with spirituality and the physical plane. So we are navigating this space of understanding the multiple voices within us, the many parts that exist within us, understanding how we can be with what is, how we can be with our humanness and with our higher self, and strike that beautiful middle space where we can honor our human experience while following our intuition. We are working hard to discern what is the wound and what is our intuition, what is the fear and what is the higher self. You may feel like everything is up all at once, like all of the noise, all of the fears, the projections, the patterns, the programs that you thought you'd left behind or that you haven't felt as intensely are present. This is a time of growth, of course. It's requiring growth. It's requiring us to do things differently, to sort through the data, the stimuli, the information that's coming through these challenges, through these experiences, through the fears, sorting through them so we can understand what is a fear and what is our intuitive knowing. This is a time of following the breadcrumbs, following the little signs and signals that lead us to the next step without getting lost in where we're headed, what it looks like, and what is next. This is a time of trusting that you can find safety within the unknown, that there's a space within you that always exists, which holds safety and faith, familiarity and comfort. This is the real challenge of now for everyone, is sitting with the fear of rapid change, all of the discomfort within our systems, knowing how much is changing and shifting without our say, what's out of our control. And this is the shadow of Virgo. When things are changing really quickly, it seeks control, sometimes in ways that are not beneficial to our growth and to the growth of others. And our job is to really resource internally to turn that desire for control externally into the spaces within us that we have access to tools and resources and actual real security. And this is really the medicine of now, is learning to discern where we hold fear, where we're operating from fear, to take the space so that we can actually hear and listen the many different voices existing within us, to take the pause, to interrupt the pattern, so that we can hear which voice is talking, what part is expressing, and tend to it so we change the pattern. We're distilling things down to the present moment, what we can work with right here and right now, rather than what's occurring in 6 months, what's occurring in 12 months, what's occurring tomorrow. The work is right here. It's really about creating enough space, enough pause between the stimuli and the reaction so that we can choose a new way. It's really about finding our own inner union, the space within us that holds no duality, the oneness, the safety. And that space is our center point, our connection with self, our connection with source. It's where we find union. It's where we find familiarity. It's where we find the safety we so desperately crave, the joy, the love, the faith. And my favorite tool to access this here and now, because it can get really complicated, it can get very confusing and inflated. And of course, there's so many different practices that help us access that inner union, that oneness. With my clients, with myself, I practice a system of inner child work, somatic work, and energy work. And this really helps us anchor into this space of oneness, self-compassion, and union with source and with self. And this is the practice. This is the yoga of returning to this space over and over and over again. It's where self-compassion occurs because we know that the stimulus will still occur, that we will experience challenges and triggers and pain, but that we can always return to this space of oneness, that we can always return to a sense of safety within, our home within. What Virgo is helping us do now is creating a really strong, clear vessel to create more seamlessness within that practice. When we have a clear vessel and a clear channel, our nervous system isn't weighted by the toxins, the noise, the overwhelm of the world. It's able to operate more efficiently, to move out of that space of dysregulation and to access its safe point at your center. So it's an invitation to look at routines, to look at rituals, to look at what you're consuming. Perhaps a cleanse is needed, not necessarily a physical cleanse, although that can be true as well, but more of an energetic, spiritual, mental, emotional cleanse. This Virgo season will be a bit of a boot camp as we enter into more deeply the eclipse portal. We need sovereign minds. We need sovereign bodies. We need clear vessels and channels to navigate the waters of change. And that this is a big one because we have our first eclipse along the Pisces Virgo axis this month at 25 degrees of Pisces on September 17th. So this is opening a new relationship with the mutable signs, with the Virgo Pisces axis. For those of you who have a north node in Pisces, a south node in Virgo, or vice versa, you will be experiencing and entering into your deep initiation of your nodal return or your reverse nodal return. But we are beginning a new journey. And this time is really revealing to us how we can prepare, the tools and practices we can utilize to create a very clear vessel and channel. A simple practice is to Create enough space within yourself where you can hear what's occurring, what's coming up for you. Closing your eyes, placing your hand on the part of the body where you're feeling the most tension, and simply asking that part of the body to reveal itself. What does it need? What does it want? What is it asking for? What is it showing you, maybe in your mind's eye? And staying with that part, with that space long enough where it begins to transform. Imagining you're sending love and compassion into this space, warmth. This is part of the clearing that we're talking about too, is clearing the density and clearing the sticky spaces within us that hold these triggers or these snags in the energy. Like we were saying before, the body is a vessel. It's a sacred vessel. It's a channel. When we tend to it, our knowing becomes crystal clear. The process is cleanse, purify, distill, and reconnect. We will be continuing to feel the effects of this Jupiter Saturn square through mid-September, when they begin to part and reconnect in December at 14 degrees of Gemini and Pisces. But we're still within the orb of influence. So we're still experiencing this energy and the intensity of it as they begin to move away from each other in mid-September. But these themes are still present as we move through Virgo season. And I've talked a lot about this energy, so I won't go back into it too much, but it's requiring us to break through something, a new way. We might feel split with it being in Gemini and Pisces. We might feel this duality that's very ever present. We might feel like two versions of us are experiencing life at the same time. You might feel these core wounds surfacing that want to be seen, witnessed, loved, and attuned to. But we might also feel the higher self ever present, which really wants space, liberation, and room to expand, void of fear. So we might be feeling the fear and feeling this pull, this desire to liberate ourselves from the fear at the same time. And our job now is to really tend to what's present within us. Like I said earlier, tend to the wounded parts so that we can transcend the fear and anchor to the timeline of our higher self. She or he knows the path, knows the way. We can only access our higher heart when we're willing to step through the fear that's surrounding it, that's protecting it. Where are we feeling restricted? Where are we keeping ourselves contained or held within a space because of fear of change, fear of the unknown, fear of abandonment or loss? This is where our work really lies. Like I said, after mid-September, these two planets, Saturn and Jupiter, meet again and experience their second square at 14 degrees Gemini and Pisces in December. So we'll be really working with this orb until and through January. And the orb is really wide. So we're looking at 10 degrees of Pisces or Gemini through 18 degrees of Pisces or Gemini. So whatever placements you have in mutable signs between 10 and 18 degrees, this will be affecting you most intensely. And it's just important to remember this is a data collection time. This is a time to be with what's present. This is not a time of knowing what's next or maybe even seeing the path or seeing the next chapter, but trusting in where you are and trusting what you're experiencing and that there is medicine in the here and now. This is a time of anchoring to your inner authority. This is a time of fortification and deepened faith, knowing that this center, this anchor, is what carries us through the challenging times. It's what carries us through the unknown. This time is really about developing a secure attachment to self and to source, and letting that be the anchor that carries us through the unknown. We also have Mars in Gemini still squaring Venus through most of this week. So once again, this interaction between the mutable signs and trusting the process without knowing the outcome. Virgo really wants to know. It wants us to create some sense of practicality, clarity, familiarity. And we have to learn how to find and resource that from within rather than looking for it in external sources. This week, we also have Mercury stationing direct on the 28th. So at the end of the retrograde period for any planet, there's a lot that can get kicked up. It can feel like the intensity of what we have experienced over this retrograde period. Mercury has retrograded back into Leo, so it's navigating the degrees of Leo before it stations direct on the 28th and begins its forward motion, its shadow period, as it moves back into Virgo, where it began its journey. So we will still be experiencing some quote unquote drama, some things that might arise and come up. It's a good time to separate yourselves from the drama, separate yourselves from the conflict, and resolve the conflict within, first and foremost. Relationships might feel really intense right now because we're navigating this Mars and Venus square as we navigate the last degrees of Mercury retrograde, or the last days of Mercury retrograde, I should say. But as we move through the next few weeks, so much insight and clarity will come through. Venus will be entering Libra, which is so nourishing and balancing, insightful, comforting. As Mercury moves into Virgo over the next few weeks, we will have a stabilization of the energy right before we head into eclipse season. So this is an invitation for you to create some space within your life, to create space within yourself, whether that be through cleansing, purging, clearing out your home, clearing out your mental space, your emotional space, your energetic body, your physical body, so that you can hear your messages more clearly. We will need a deepened connection to self as we navigate eclipse season. We will need clear channels as we navigate the next few months collectively. And it's so important to remember that this time might not be revealing quite yet what the next chapter looks like. I'm talking to so many people that are experiencing so much uncertainty around what their life looks like, what their life will look like in a few months, where they're moving to, who's in their lives, what their work will look like. The point is to find safety in the unknown, is to access our inner resources, our inner center point, so that we can navigate the unknown with more ease, with more faith. The energies that are building will certainly be assisting us in that process as Venus enters Libra on the 29th, as Mercury stations direct and begins its forward motion. There will be more clarity that comes through, but the point is really to find safety, even without knowing what's to come, because that center point will be what carries you through the rest of your life. The card I pulled for today is the Sage card, which is so wild, all about purification. She willingly transforms into ember in the name of sacramental cleansing. She's a living ceremony, charged with protection and the unmitigated desire to let go. She burns clarifying and cleansing interference and toxic spirits from her surroundings. She purifies all, even herself. Sage is native to high desert ecosystems and perfectly embodies their grounding qualities. With your aligned intentions, she will gladly hasten your positive transitions and clarify your purpose and vision. Sage indicates the timelines of purification. With your intention to clear cluttered energies from the spaces of your body, mind, emotions, home, altar, she will, by her ashen, solemn bloom, unveil a new blessing. Enlist Sage to accelerate your purification process. Ask her to surge toward your senses with her delicate strains of perfumed smoke. The overall clarity and groundedness that this ritual brings will be its own reward. When it's balanced, you feel clear, harmonious, and grounded. When it's imbalanced, you feel depressed, chaotic, conflicting energies that create confusion. To bring into balance, intentionally clear your physical spaces every day. What an invitation from Virgo season. What a sweet message that really aligns with what we've been talking about today. And I did want to mention, I had many of you inquire about the astrocartography sessions after speaking about it in the last episode. And you can find that session on my website under the Explore session. And that's where we dive into your natal chart. We dive into astrocartography. So when you book it, you can just mention that you'd like to focus on astrocartography, although we will still pull your natal chart because that plays into the energies. So, and I'm actually providing a discount code for my podcast listeners only. And so you can use the code podcast to get 10% off of that session for the month of September. So I'm so excited to meet with some new faces. It feels really fun to deepen into this practice and this study of astrocartography. I did also want to mention that I am opening up 4 spaces for private mentorship beginning in October. So if you've been wanting to work with me closely, one-on-one, in an intimate container, this is the time to do it. We'll be working through the eclipse season together. This is a very deep, potent 3-month container where we work closely together one-on-one to navigate your patternings, your deepest layers, the spaces within you that are seeking attunement, connection, and more intimacy. It's a blend of quantum healing, intuitive healing, shamanic healing, inner child and somatic resourcing, and subconscious rewiring. So, a blend of all of the modalities I utilize in my work with clients in one container. This has been my favorite way to work with my clients. It's so potent, it's so transformative. I've worked with, hundreds of women now who have experienced massive, massive change within their lives, and it's such an honor. If you are interested in my mentorship program, you can book a clarity call on my website. I will link it in the show notes as well. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. You can access me via email or Instagram messages. I always love, love, love hearing from you all, how the episodes land, what you're navigating, what you're experiencing. It truly means the world. And so thank you for sharing on Instagram, sharing on social media, sharing with friends, rating and reviewing the podcast, subscribing. It all means so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your support. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you have a beautiful week, and I will talk to you next week.